Testing, can you hear me?
Testing. Ooh, that's loud. Testing. Testing. That's good. Okay. No, not me. Welcome to the last day of National Poetry Month. But we are not late. We are purposeful. From this day forward, we will be celebrating poetry and literature every month, just like we do Black history and Detroit excellence. Our new 21st Century Poet Laureate will be a little different than in the past. We will still expect the elegance and pride and brilliance of the late Naomi Long Madgett, but the city's last Poet Laureate, but today's Poet Laureate will have specific work assignments and get paid, and the expectations will be high. Detroit Ace is borrowing the theme from World Poetry Day 2024, which was Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, to honor Miss Madgett and Dudley Randall and the other iconic Detroit poets of the past whose trailblazing work enlarged poetry's footprint across cultures. The new laureate will be expected to compose poems for special events and occasions and to give a signature poem at the end of their tenure each year. We are so proud to be one of the few cities in America with an official city historian in Jamon Jordan, who is teaching Detroit's powerful past, history that every American should know and every Michigan child should learn. But we are adding laureates in poetry today and music in June, and it speaks to how much Detroit and Mayor Mike Duggan value culture and the contributions of Detroiters to every aspect of American life. Now, coming off the victory of the century with the 2024 NFL Draft, please welcome Mayor Mike Duggan.
Well, thank you, Rochelle. And wasn't it a great weekend here in the city? You know, as we were coming out of bankruptcy, I had a vision for the city where we could be on a national stage and we'd be celebrated for hosting great sports events. But I also had a vision that we would go back to celebrating Detroit's great tradition in arts and culture. And it's why I went out and recruited Rochelle Riley to head up the Arts and Culture Office, because we needed to elevate the status. It's what a great city does. Today, we get a chance to take the next step. 4 years ago, when we lost the great Naomi Long Madgett, there's been a hole in this city. She was our Poet Laureate for a long time. And today I want to thank our distinguished selection committee for the recommendation of a Poet Laureate for the new generation of Detroit, Jessica Care Moore. Jessica's poetry has been recorded with hip-hop legends and techno pioneers. She's performed at major national events and even turned her work into a full-scale theatrical production. Her poetry has won numerous state and national awards, and I don't think there's any question that in 2024, Jessica Care Moore is authentically the voice of Detroit. Yes. So all I'm doing today is making it official. And I am today naming Jessica Care Moore the Poet Laureate for the city of Detroit. Congratulations, Jessica.
I have things to say. I brought like 10 books with me because I'm such a cornball nerd. Okay, so, I brought some of my family here. Apologize to them for them in advance. We're crazy, the Moores. No, thank you to my family for coming out in the middle of the day. They didn't quite know what they were coming to. I was like, just come to the new building next to the train station, and then they just came, and then lots to say. Just thank you. And I've been called the Detroit Poet Laureate for so many years, and I've always had to tell people and corrected them many, many times to tell them, no, Naomi Long Madgett is the Detroit Poet Laureate. And if I don't read something, I'm just gonna stand here and cry. So, what up, though? In the centennial year of my daddy's birth, I'm extremely honored to be chosen to serve as the next Detroit Poet Laureate by the city of Detroit. Mayor Duggan, local organizations, and people very, very dear to me, thank you. I am a Detroit lion on Linwood, a rebellious tiger on Tireman, a Stanley Cup carrying Red Wing on Rutherford, a Detroit Piston constantly putting up new nets around forgotten backboards and orange squares. Detroit is the starting line of the world's imagination. It's a line I wrote in one of my many homages I have written to lift up, celebrate, properly explain, and promote my hometown for decades. It's not hyperbole. I am living proof that an imagination rooted in our city's rich soil can take you all over the world and back. I love the people of Detroit, and it's my extreme honor to continue to be a part of the next wave of literary greats being cultivated here. I've been writing and publishing poems about Detroit most of my adult life. This city is my muse and has been there for my heartbreaks, my deepest loves, my dreams, my mothering, my growth, my triumphs and tears. I figured out what kind of human I wanted to be here, and I know I am living testimony of what is possible as a proud graduate of Frank Cody High School. When the CEO of Michigan Central recently asked me about my foundation, he was surprised I didn't mention the college or university. Instead, I told him about the Black Box Theater in the basement of my high school on the west side. I explained how my drama teacher, Susan Story, introduced me to the work of Ndizaki Shange and rocked my world in 11th grade. I didn't know there were hundreds of poets who looked and wrote like me. The library off Joy Road became a magical place where I found other writers who were writing for me long before I was born. Audre Lorde, Nikki Giovanni, Larry Neal. Once that light was turned on, it could only become brighter, and I read every book in the poetry section. I only hope with this new position, I'll be able to help turn on some lights inside our schools filled with promise, an untapped young genius. Poems belong to all of us, and they all have the power to change lives. Poems absolutely saved my life. I have been a witness to their power inside of jails, prisons, schools, and definitely in the lives of my students I've mentored all over the country and in this city. When I was in my 20s, I sat at the feet of our beloved Naomi Long Madgett. I was in a broadside press workshop with her. I'll never forget her teaching me how a book should look if I were to publish or start my own press. She told me to make sure the books would compete with all other books on the bookshelves, perfect bind, strong editor, beautiful covers. Her work with Lotus Press inspired me to become a young publisher in 1997 in a place called Brooklyn. And so began my early journey as a poet and institution builder. Poets are not just writers, they are activists and scholars, and they come from a tradition of powerful educators and revolutionary voices. I am a metaphorical child of the Black arts movement and have been blessed with mentorship and friendship from Sonia Sanchez, Amiri Baraka, the last poets, Gil Scott-Heron, Hakeem Adabuti, and our own Gloria Nebb House, Pearl Cleage, and countless others. I established More Black Press in 1997 after becoming recognized around the country for winning the famous Showtime at the Apollo televised amateur night. I wanted to build something bigger than that moment, and my press became the home to many poets who were looking to become first-time authors. In 2024, More Black Press entered a partnership with HarperCollins, and now I'll be publishing poets with international distribution. We must build curriculum, teach, write, and publish poetry books and record our works so that our legacy is passed down to the next generation. Our young people must know that their imagination is a revolutionary tool that they can write themselves into existence. Being a poet is more than fancy words on paper. It is the unique way one sees the world, fights for the oppressed, becomes a voice for the voiceless, finds ways to find the beauty and humanity when everyone has lost sight of it. I am a people's poet, like Langston, so I never expect to get recognized even in these spaces. I am so grateful and truly inspired at this moment, and I hope to continue doing this work called poetry with grace and compassion. I truly believe our city above salt is indeed an anointed one, and I look forward to continuing to represent, teach, and write about the D, the GOAT, the greatest city of all time. 313 Love for life, Jessica Care Moore. Thank you. My mama is here, my brothers are here. My son couldn't get out of school, he was trying. He's at DSA. Thank you to Dudley Randall and Broadside Press. I wouldn't be here if not for you. And thank you again to Mayor Duggan and the city of Detroit. Thank you. I love you, Rochelle. So proud of you. Thank you. Did I take your notes?
Now, I'd like to recognize any elected officials that might be with us today. They sent wonderful well wishes, and I will pass them along to you. It gives me great honor at this point in today's press conference to recognize our benefactor. Detroit ACE would not exist without the support of the Kresge and Ford Foundations. Today, we thank Ford for sponsoring the Poet Laureate. Please welcome Kevin Ryan, Senior Program Officer on the Civic Engagement and Government team, who leads the Foundation's grant-making in Detroit.
Oh, you don't want to forget that there. Thank you, Rochelle. And again, I just want to thank the mayor and thank Rochelle for another great partnership that's going to have huge impact in Detroit. And we've done it for years, and we'll continue to do it. And I'm really looking forward to what this means for Detroit and how it inspires young people in Detroit to really think about the strength they have and to be able to express that. And just on a personal level, I was just talking to Jessica before we began, and I just remember moving to New York from here in the 90s and seeing Jessica perform. It had to be 97, 98, something like that helped me find my community in New York. And without her and people like Carl Hancock Rux and other folks, I wouldn't have been able to find my community. So the fact that I'm here today and can help support this work in the role that we have here at Ford Foundation is just truly inspiring. So congratulations, Jessica, and we look forward to working with the city to support more poets and storytellers.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And speaking of young people, as you always do, I am thrilled now to welcome Hassan Elahi, Dean of College of Fine Performing and Communication Arts at Wayne State University and a member of the selection committee.
Thank you, Rochelle. Hey, thank you so much for coming out today. So the Detroit Poet Laureate was chosen through a rigorous process, independent panel, and you know, to qualify, applicants were required to be a Detroit resident, have a substantial body of work, published at least one full-length book, established professional poet for at least 10 years. So we had quite a few applicants, and the selection panel went through. So I want to recognize some of the folks. It was a real honor for me to serve on this panel, and I'd like to introduce some of our fellow panelists, and I know many of you are in the audience here. So Nandi Comer, Poet Laureate of Michigan. Nandi is the author of 2 collections of poetry and co-director of Detroit Lit, a program dedicated to providing reading and professional development opportunities to narrative makers of color in Detroit. Nandi is also a 2019 Kresge Literary Arts Fellow. So, Joanne Mandani. Joanne's the executive director at the Detroit Public Library, and since 2009, she has overseen the 2.6 million print, audio, video, and electronic collections at our library in the city. She's also the author of Hold Them in Your Heart, Successful Strategies for Library Services to At-Risk Teens. Elisa Lucy is the author, Elise, oh, hey, there you are. Hey, Elise. Elisa is the author of the poetry collection, What to Count. She's also a 2019 Kresge Literary Arts Fellow, and for over 2 decades, she's worked with Inside Out Literary Arts in Detroit, most recently, Director of School and Community Partnerships. M.L. Liebler, one of my colleagues, is an internationally known and widely published poet. He's a Wayne State professor, literary arts activist, arts organizer. M.L. has authored 15 books. In 2005, M.L. was named the first poet laureate of his hometown, St. Clair Shores. Bill Harris. Bill Harris is a noted poet, also professor emeritus of English at Wayne State University. Bill is a 2011 Kresge Eminent Artist for his contributions to the Detroit literary scene. And Arzelia Williams, I don't know if you're, okay. Oh, she's in Chicago, okay. Arzelia is a Detroit spoken word poet who honed her craft at the Inside Out Literary Arts program while in high school. And she's a thriving communication professional and spoken word poet with dual degrees from Michigan State University. So that's the panelists that we're in. So yeah, and we're delighted to select with the selection panel of Jessica Caremore. I mean, this was an overwhelmingly, there's overwhelming support for Jessica's selection for this. So, you know, to be selected as a poet laureate is to be entrusted with a sacred duty, you know, duty to wield the word with grace and purpose, illuminate the human experience in all its complexities, and champion the transformative potential of art and society. So, I mean, I work with a lot of students. I see a lot of generations of students coming through. So, in the eyes of a new generation of students in the arts, the role of the poet laureate really takes on a special resonance here. And to these young artists, the poet laureate is not just a figurehead or a representative of literary tradition, as Rochelle mentioned earlier. It's a little different than what we've done in the past. So, really, what we were looking at the selection panel is the poet laureate as a beacon of possibility, a living testament to the idea that the voices matter, the stories deserve to be told, and the art has the power to shape the world around them. She mentioned earlier today, just a few moments ago, that she's living proof that an imagination rooted in our city's rich soil can take you all over the world and back. Yes, they are more than just fancy words on paper, and it's a unique way that one sees the world. So Jessica is truly a people's poet. Her poems inspire all and help bridge understanding, compassion, and grace between different communities. As an example of Jessica's commitment to literacy and education, it can be found in her Jessica Caremore Foundation, which has transformed the lives and fostered a love of words of creativity for so many in our city. I'm confident, absolutely confident, that that as Detroit's poet laureate, Jessica's vision, talent, and commitment will continue to enrich Detroit's artistic community and inspire future generations. So let us embrace this moment, not only as an opportunity to celebrate Jessica, but also a call to action, a call to empower the next generation of poets, writers, musicians, artists, to dream boldly, to create fearlessly, and change the world one word at a time. So again, thank you for everyone for coming, and many, many congratulations to Detroit's newest Poet Laureate, Jessica Care Moore.
I can talk louder than rolling wheels. When I first met Jessica Care Moore over 2 decades ago, she told me her story, and it was so powerful, so vibrant, so nuanced with joy and pain that it nearly brought me to tears. But it wasn't the story that got me, it was how she told it. Jessica is poetry. She is walking poetry, and her everyday conversations are poems. So I'm so glad that a stellar selection committee saw what most of us see, poetry in motion. So now with a final word for us, our new Poet Laureate, Jessica Care Moore.
Let me get to work. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I'll end with a poem. What do I say? I feel like I want to say something. I want to see poetry as curriculum in Detroit public schools. I want to write it. I'll do the work. I'll write the curriculum.
Our team is not going to let you take that mic off.
I'll write the curriculum. Okay. But I just need the teachers to teach it. I don't want students to have to get to Wayne State to find me, to get a cool professor like Liebler that knows me already, right? I want them to already say, oh, you don't, I want them to go to New York and go, you don't know Jessica Care Moore? Oh, yeah, she's from Detroit. She went to Cody. We learned about her in freshman year in high school, or earlier, right? Okay, so what do I want to do? I don't know. I didn't know I was going to read a poem. I just thought I was going to talk, but how dare I? So this is, I'm trying to think what I want to read. I honestly don't know. Here we go. A poem saved my life. I've read this before, but I'm going to read it to Detroit. They named me something French, but I preferred Cadillac. They didn't invite me to the naming ceremony, but they must have felt my still body longing for rubber against the ground. I was reborn, the Motor City, a beautiful city across the street from another country inside a thumb surrounded by Great Lakes. I was the music made from engines, loud, tough, sometimes just a hum and a hand clap sound. When I grew up, they called me Motown. He is smoking a cool mouth. Ooh, shout out to my daddy who's here in the room. That was his way of slowing down his 30-year-old nicotine habit from me, his second to youngest daughter who thought he was God and fought for position to ride in the front seat of his white, green, or gold Cadillacs. Detroit daddy cool outside on any summer night on the west side with the radio loud enough for the entire block to listen, and they did. Mr. Copeland carried his front porch chair to our driveway and then listened to Tigers baseball on the radio. That sound, a whisper, surrounded by a fence and a prayer, more than fathers worshiped by their daughters. Men who come home to families at night after working 12-hour days. Blue-collar Michigan men with jazz in their feet and Motown 8-tracks in their rides. Men who smelled like men and understood that women were delicate and brilliant. Who was missing from me more than my daddy, Tom Moore? Revolutionary men who surrounded themselves with artists and thinking people when protesting was cool. Plum Street businessman George A.G. who ran the Mystic Room and would birth an artist who would paint the city the bright way he saw it. John Sinclair, rest in peace, who incited riots and moved people with poems and personal transformation, sometimes without a flash. Lenny Arm documented the action movement, Raw, MC5, Rolling Stones. Papa was men who made smoking cool before there ever was a commercial campaign or cancer or non-smoking bars. 1968 men hollowing out their hearts to hide their future children from Reagan's 80s invasion. Men who knew music was power and dancing slow was an act of love. Men on the line of assembly, Coleman A. Young men fighting to desegregate fire and police departments. Curses were like poetry when they decided to fire back. Politics were the people's conscience, and Marvin Gaye was our battle crier. We know work. It is our witchcraft, our bloodline gift, our deep South anxiety attack, our dreams of something greater for the ones who come later, the men who look like daddies even when they weren't. Dive hat gangster against a snakeskin shoe. Sunday best men, Saturday night men, straight black men with pride, organizing frontline union workers, men making women touch their hats and adjust their slips as they pass. Construction workers with steel-toe boots and brown bag lunches, men. We missed the corner. We used to safely stand on to hear the good gossip, the heavy-fisted hand, the blue-black Detroit River of palms that carry fish to the car, then to the crib. That's what we call it still. In Islam, they say, the poets have angels waiting at the streetlight, determining the traffic. This is how we find a way to eat, to smile, brush cutting through indifference, spraying pink lips with blue-collar edge, running with reckless abandon. We are hiding inside the intangible beauty of rubble and rebellion, potholes and 24-hour conies. We underground railroad survivors with no union station downtown. We got Michigan station now. What do the artists say in a time of war? Nobody heard a bomb drop in Detroit. Who's pushing the buttons and spiking the tea? We need more wordplay and cane sugar, spray paint and pulled canvas to make the skyline grow. What do we have left if not poems? How many times would I have died if I couldn't articulate my own existence? We have man-made farms all over this city. This is not Charles Dickens. This is Octavia Butler, and we are the chosen. Eastern market shoppers and young urban gardeners for hire. The art is never in the artist. It is in the people that inspire the artist's work. So don't write eulogies for my city of Detroit, no uninspired folk song of gloom. Some of us are coming home to show the world how we make the planet move. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to my mom for giving me books when I was a little girl. And I want some pictures. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Jessica and I will be right over in the shade if you have some questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, somebody get this picture of her and the mayor.